I cooked, then I pureed it.
We're live streaming, just so you're aware.
Okay. There goes the recipe time.
Come on, the cooking class is over, I guess.
Right.
I wonder if they're hooked up yet.
Well, I see Jeremy's name. Jeremy, can you hear us? Do you see who's on?
Yeah, we do not, remember, we don't have the recording company tonight, unfortunately.
No.
We got to reach out to them more in advance, which is what I'll do for next month.
Right, because I remember we said we were going to give him a second chance.
Yeah. What happened with that?
I guess he didn't give him enough time.
Just decided not to do that?
No, he didn't have enough time. I didn't reach out to him until Thursday night, Friday, after we discussed it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But he only charged us $90 for the last meeting, since, which is good since it was a bad recording.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. Doesn't help us, but it's nice to know.
Right.
Okay, so whenever we're going to start, we're here. My family's hungry because I have to cook. Mm-hmm.
I'm doing attendance, everyone.
Okay.
Just bear with me. I'll call you when I need you.
Okay, we'll be here. Mm-hmm.
Was he a 9-cent C guy? 8 from Ionia? Did you really create 2 epic poems he's credited with? Dustin, who's Homer? Yes. College 600. Currently a chief part of the NFL, he threw for 5,052 yards and 41 touchdowns in his last year at Texas Tech. Tegan. Who's Mahomes? That's correct. College football performance. The sooner, the better. Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray won back-to-back Heisman's quarterback for this. On January 1st, 1920, Harvard beat Oregon 7-6 in this annual game in Pasadena. You may be shocked to learn it's not been back.
Oswald.
Yes.
So I'm doing attendance. Is Christian Amato here? Is he online? Or Christina Contreras? Al D'Angelo should be online. If he's not, let me know. I saw Miguel, Bernadette, Averill.
You know what? Jeremy, hold on a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have the list of people that are present or phoned in. So I can
Great.
let
So
you know.
can I just read off the names and you tell me if they're here, Sandy?
Yeah, that's why I'm telling
Okay.
you what I'm doing.
Okay, great. Is Averill here online?
No.
Rabbi?
No,
Jukes?
not yet.
Ken Gelnick, I saw. Malcolm
Ken is
Gray.
here.
Okay.
No.
He's here in person. John Johnson's no longer a board member. I got to get rid of that name. Debbie Kowalik is here. Melanie LaHose.
No, I don't see her name.
I think I saw David's name. David Levitt.
Yeah.
Roger's
Yes.
here in person. Is Hazel there? Hey, Sandy?
Yeah, well, she was. Oh, wait, yes.
Okay. Serena Muniz. Not yet.
Don't see her.
Phyllis is here. Yah is not. Purdom is here. Shrado. Bad habit. Naomi Pemberton online, Sandy?
No. Not yet.
Keith Ramsey.
No.
Juanita Randall.
No.
Rich Reynoso I saw. Cynthia I saw. Ellie Rodriguez, I saw. Joanne Rubino, I saw. Harry. Oral, I got these people. Eddie Shkreli online.
No,
Lisa, I saw. Joe, I see. Sandy's here. Janice Walcott, she might be,
Nope.
she might be a caller in.
there's no calling in. There's no phone number.
Yeah, there's, okay. Dwayne Williams,
I'm here.
No,
okay, thank you. And then Jeanette, I saw, so we have a quorum. It is 7:12 PM. It is February 23rd, 2023. This is the full board meeting of Bronx Community Board 11 in the Bronx. And I will turn it over to Bernadette, or actually our Sergeant at Arms. Here. This one's not working the greatest, so.
That one's not working?
Well, I think there's too many wires around here, to say the least. Which one, 5? Here, is it, it should be on, tap it? Yeah, it's on.
I am, my name is Papa John, Sergeant of Arms. Louder.
There you go.
Days, yes, that's Joe. So, this is Black History Month, and I celebrate that. I know we didn't mention it before, but, it's, month to celebrate. So the first thing we're gonna go through is the, Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, Chairman?
Yeah, so Oral, our Sergeant at Arms, is going to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and of course, we forgot the flag again, so let's just face northward. That's what you do when you're.
North.
Repeat yourself. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we want to remain standing?
Yes. Remain standing for a moment of silence. Okay, we have a moment of silence for our fallen first responders and medical and military service personnel, and for those suffering throughout the world.
Okay, did you want to actually make any other statement?
Yes.
Next statement.
So today we're gonna have our gallery session with speakers. And to read our conduct statement. Jeremy, is it in here?
That should be the end.
Yeah, at the end. So the only reason why we're doing this, we really want to have a meeting where we're just discussing things and trying to discover as to work with our community, how best to impact our community, how best to serve our community. And I think that when we have a good discussion, no issues, we don't know what issues can be, it's a lot better for everyone. Okay, so our conduct statement is that community board 11 meetings must be held in a professional, hostile-free environment.
Jeremy speaking.
Conduct are applicable to members of the public, community board 11, and community board 11 staff. So.
Oral, but speaking, Sandy.
Okay, thank you.
Community board 11 business will not be tolerated during any community board meeting and may result in the individual being asked to leave. If the action or behavior continues, this may be considered disrupting the peace, and the appropriate authorities may be summoned. If the meeting is held remotely, the person may be muted or expelled for the remainder Repeated violations by the same person or group of people may result in future action by the community board. All public speakers must address the full board or the committee with their concerns. Election for a position.
Nico's calling you that you should be a,
Officer of community board election
oh,
is
okay.
Oh, Nico's over there?
Yeah, he said, where's Grandpa? He said, he's not at the meeting.
No, I'm online.
I told him, he just wanted to raise you that he was there.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Joe, can you mute your line, please?
I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No further statements. My end,
Okay, then.
and continue with the meeting.
I didn't know you were on vacation this week.
If it's on.
Joe, it's still not muted.
The battery might be dying.
There you
So,
go.
I
Now
can
you're
have
muted.
Let me change the battery. Sure.
Okay,
Fine, it's on now.
okay, there we go. Okay, we're gonna start with the gallery session. The speakers receive an initial 2 minutes of uninterrupted speaking time. Only those registered will be called upon, and so far we have 4 registered speakers. So I'll be calling upon,
Got these two.
how many?
2 more, and
So we have 6 total.
yeah, and I got checked one. Yeah, and I'll check online, just in case there's a wait.
Okay, first is Robert Press, Community Board 11, constituent bylaw amendments and mentoring new members. 30-minute warning.
30 seconds.
Second.
30-second warning.
Yeah, we'll get rid of this one.
Sorry about that. Flip of the tongue.
Yep, right when you are.
Okay, it should be imperative to this board and its residents that they know the future plans or expansion of some of its institutions. You have the right to ask for a 5-year master plan, as we did when I was on Community Board 8. You could do that through the hospitals, Con Edison, the non-public schools, and others who may want to expand into Community Board 11 or expand their current.
Hold on, sorry, I had the wrong thing on.
You didn't lose any time.
Go ahead, Bob.
Or expand their current footprints. Second, the bylaws should not be changed every other month because you want to change them, but looked at once a year or every other year. As for tonight's changes, you may need to check with the mayor's CAU unit if you can install a time limit, because time limits have been removed from other areas as far as running for officers' positions. And you may want to check also if you can limit the number of committees a member can be on, because I served on 8 committees my 6 years when I was on Community Board 8. I was vice chair of 2 committees and then chaired 1 committee, not at the same time. Also, we elected our officers, but not only that, we elected our chairs of the committees and we elected our nominating committee, just a, little thing for thought. As for placing members on committees lacking memberships, there are several options that this board can do, but I don't have enough time to, so if you want, I can tell you if someone wants to ask what they are. I want to thank, though, a new board member who mentioned my name at the leadership committee for mentoring them. And
30 seconds.
you could see in that member what I would be. As also, I have been asked to mentor other board members here for my advice and my expertise. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
I had it off, hold on. Go ahead.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, Diana Finch, next step forward. Community Board 11 constituent.
Hi, everyone. I see the board has a very full agenda tonight. I'll try to be fast. As I said at last week's leadership meeting and now to the whole board, please don't cancel committee meetings the day or so beforehand. People plan to attend to bring up community concerns. So even when a guest speaker can't make it or the committee doesn't have a quorum, there can be a very worthwhile meeting. The Land Use Committee might consider having meetings that could be workshops on the ULURP process, environmental assessments, how the City Planning Commission works. It's also very difficult when agendas are announced only a day or 2 before. I understand the logistical challenges of posting agendas on the website, but the topics of key meetings could be made known well in advance when leadership first schedules them. Especially now that the Facebook group is unofficial, I hope the social media committee might expand their purview to include a wider outreach to notify the community about meetings of particular concern to a specific neighborhood or group. I'd also like to know why the social media committee has not held any public meetings. Because so much of our dialogue here lately has focused on subjects of controversy and disagreement, I'd also like to say some thank yous to the Ethics Committee for all the important work done on the new manual, to the Bylaws Committee for updates. Those 3 committees per member seems like a lot. Thank you to Hazel and Housing for the really informative meeting with the Department of Buildings, to Lisa Soto, Parks Chair, for being so supportive of our love of parks, to Veronica Castro for giving the community direct access to the 49th precinct.
30 seconds.
To Vice Chair Al D'Angelo for listening to different opinions, to new Chair Bernadette for reaching out about community agreements that can set a better tone, to District Manager Jeremy for showing me, Becca, how to look up construction and permit info, and to Chairs Serena Muniz and Malcolm Gray for empowering community budget requests and running fund meetings, and to everyone for their work here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Diane. Next in line is Ephraim Gonzalez. Are you here? Okay, Ephraim.
Hey, from, how you doing?
If you want to touch the button, I'll leave it on.
2 minutes,
Yeah,
I'll give
make
you
sure
a
you turn
second.
it off.
Okay?
There's a big feedback.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody.
Keep it,
Chair Wall.
want to keep it on? I'll just-
Up to you.
I wanted to talk briefly about diversity, and I don't want to make it some kind of big thing. I wanted about educating people. Diversity incorporates everybody. Inclusion. I'm always reminded by my father, who was a former state senator, that we were the first Puerto Rican family allowed to live in Portchester in 1971 due to a human rights bill law that was passed in the court. And there were 2 other black families. We were the only 3 families allowed. And then we eventually left because they started raising the rents. But that, he reminds me because today we see people that think that diversity is just one thing and one label. But I want people to understand, I am Puerto Rican Italian, I'm also British. But when I tell you that I'm a Latino, it can be also that I'm also white. A Latino can also be black, Afro-Latino, and that there were some people in other parts of this community that started to say, well, you don't know anything about black people. Yes, I do. I do. And I know that African Americans are African Americans, but I also know that people from Latin America can be black, speak Spanish, and they have been attacked. So what I want people to understand is that Muslims are in Portchester based on that law in 1971. And I want other people to know that we have to include everybody. And that means that also we don't attack people personally on the boards, whether they're in labor or whether they're in education, and no matter who they are, we got to get to the table. And last but not least, I want to see more Latinos on the land use committee. I'm going to have to talk with some people downtown about that because they, in any majority Latino district, and that's what this is, we need them to be actually leading the way.
That's it.
in a lot of
Thank you.
things. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Ephraim. Okay, next up, Roxanne Delgado, CV11 Constituent Community Issues.
They need their time.
Hello, Roxanne. Just so you have,
Yeah, we'll call them. We'll call them.
2 minutes now, they come back.
Yeah.
how's that, wait, how's that gonna work?
What?
You gonna go? What's she doing for, come back?
So,
So basically.
well, I mean, it's up to you guys how you want to do this. Do you want to give her somebody ceding their time? I think to be respectful of everybody who's going to speak for themselves, let them go, and then. Yeah. And then 2 people in person, because remember, when we go back to in person, we do these things. Which I'm happy to do away with if you want to do it electronically. but- Yeah.
Figure out.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yep.
So, those 2 people are here, one, anyway. That has 4 minutes.
But I think we do 2, and then for the person who's going to speak for themselves, call them up, and then
Yes.
give it
yes.
to the person who's going to cede their time.
Continue it that way.
I mean, it's up to the board.
Yes, that's what we're doing.
How we did last time, They call the person, let the person say, okay, I'll give this person like 2 minutes.
Yes.
If you do it like that, then it'll never get done.
Okay,
So
okay,
the
let's,
person made the person said, yes, I'm giving this.
let's see.
It's up to you. Wait.
We're wasting more time trying to decide this.
She has 2 minutes. I mean, everybody gets 2 minutes.
I'm flexible.
That's fine.
Okay. Wait, please.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. So I'm starting out. I'm here on behalf of the Boston Road rezoning. Again, they bring up the major issue we have with this rezoning is affordability and the displacement risk. Now, there's three factors. Think about Harlem. Anyone that knew Harlem back then sees now. Not only did they displace the original residents, they killed the culture that was happening, including the local pop and mom shops. Now we have the Whole Foods, and it's sad. And I would say that there's three factors that lead to displacement. First factor is we have a huge population addition. This project will bring up to 900 new residents. This is the environmental assessment statement. It's not my opinion. This was the, and I think it might be more, but the city plan said 900 additional residents. Second, the 60% of these units, 199 units, will be at one household for $85,000. For two households, for household of two persons, will be over $90,000. Yet the median income for this district is $45,000, and if you expand it to half a mile radius, which includes Laconia, Palm Gardens, it goes likely to $50,000. So that means that over half of the community cannot afford these units. Third factor that leads to displacement is the fact that the community is vulnerable. Community is, like I said, 30% live below poverty rate. The median income is $45,000. Half of people make less than $55,000, and 30% of these are not rent stabilized, meaning that if I live in a rent stabilized apartment and I have a luxury building, it won't impact me because I'm protected. But in this community, they're not protected. These three factors will lead to displacement. This is why I urgently am very involved in this issue, because we need to protect our community. Why build houses for one person and displace two people? It makes no sense. And I guess I'll wait for the next two sessions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have 2 minutes.
You're right. Here, this one works.
So it's working?
Yep.
Okay.
This is next speaker.
Okay, next person is Manuel Martinez and Ms. Reyes.
New York Public Library.
The team.
Yes, the team. You're by yourself. No, don't worry, I got this. I'll make it short and sweet and simple. So for Allerton, I'm representing the 3 libraries. So for Allerton Library, we finally were able to book Sonia Monsanto. So she's an author. She was actually Maria who played on Sesame Street. Yeah. So in celebration of Women's History Month, we're gonna have her come in as an author. Wednesday, March 15th at 11 a.m. We got some of her books. The books that we're going to be reading is No Dogs Allowed. We're kind of going to be raffling those off and have her sign. So, anyone looking to come, please do so. NYPL after school program is with full effect. We're getting a lot of new faces that are coming in that are utilizing this service. And then on behalf of Morris Park, Dawn Holloway wanted me to announce the Voices of War writing workshop led by Jeremy on Saturday, February 25th. Registration is still open. Check out the website. And for Pelham Parkway Vanessa's events, she left some flyers right at the back there. And that pretty much, I know Bernadette, Grace is kind of working with you. We're going to try to, the New York Public Library is going to kind of take charge and lead it.
There's that meeting on
I turned it off.
March 13th.
Okay, all right.
All right, so Grace, you've been informed.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. And like I said, we got tons of events. We're planning, I'll speak on this next month, but I know I mentioned a studio space that's new and unique to the library. We're going to be doing a soft launch on Friday, April 7th. There's more information to come. I'll be sharing that as it comes along. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, next person is Jenny Lopez.
Hello, Jenny.
Okay, thank you.
Sign again.
Hi there again. So 3:30 morning, please. Thank you so much. So continuing, I would like this community board to make a motion, because I was the city planning, and to make a motion, because this project is going to happen. But make a motion to fit this community, make it sure that the AMI is lowered to match more closely to the median income, as well as to do a study on the displacement risk, not just for our community, but for all future community projects. And lastly, I know you guys are very interested in parking. I'm not dismissing that concern, but you have to understand city plan actually expressed that there was too much parking. Why poke the beast in the eye? Let's quietly let it happen. Just a suggestion. And lastly, regarding, we need more parks enforcement. Every morning, except for this morning, I refuse to go to Power Park because every time I go there, I end up cleaning. The plaza, there's people sleeping there overnight. And the next thing they leave soiled clothing, hygienic issues. Thankfully, there's no needles, but it's really bad. So we need park enforcement because Portland Precinct is too busy dealing with real crime. I'm not calling them to deal with the person sleeping there overnight, defecating, leaving their hygienic items behind. We need more park enforcement. We need to send this letter to the mayor's office and our local council member, including Martin Velazquez, and Riley, and also Felice, that this is an urgent need because I'd rather have more enforcement than more maintenance because it's being proactive. The reason why we have all this lot of trash is because we're not being proactive. We nip the problem in the beginning before it escalates to the point that it's unsustainable. And lastly, I'd like to mention the manual. I know it's a good manual, but it's the same as Community Board 8, so we should review that manual. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to point out that ever since I've gotten on the board, park enforcement has been an issue, and it has been a problem. It has not been resolved. It's been addressed over again, and it has not been resolved to anybody's satisfaction. Yeah, well, we need to do something. Okay.
Hold on, bro. She has a question. Or...
Your testimony at the city planning. I know that there was discussion about the AMIs, and they seem receptive to something that you suggested. So give us a little bit more information on that.
Yes, there's many HPD programs, like mix and match programs will be suitable for Upper West Side, because it's at one point here.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
And I think, one of the speakers from last night said that it would not be feasible to lower the AMI, that's incorrect. I know many programs that have 40 to 60% AMI. These programs do exist, but the mix and match is not feasible for our community. It would be better for Upper West Side, because the average income is over $80,000. So I'm not against the mix and match program, it's just that doesn't suit our community, so I would suggest, as I just suggest city planning to lower the program, to a program that has a bit lower income band, instead of 80 and 120, let's do 40 and 60. And second, I would like to make sure we have an independent managing agent to make sure that the developer complies with this program, because we have issues with developers sign up to this program, and we see in the paper that the apartments will never rent stabilized, they rent it to people that don't qualify. But we need to make sure that not only do we have a program, but there's compliance to these programs. And thank you so much. Thanks.
Go ahead, Brent.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Malcolm. Ms. Malcolm.
I also do want to point out the city, when they're working city vouchers, they use fair market rents. And the fair market is much lower than what real market rents are. And when as my experience, they do force real estate agents to match those fair. And if the city is urgent to have these high rises, you should challenge them to mark those fair market rents. Those fair market rents are actually what is affordable for working wrong sex like us. If that's something that we should push, as alternative to them going after it.
Study to validate all these concerns, not just for this project, but future projects, what I'm sure we're going to be facing. Thank you so much.
Okay, Bernadette.
Anybody else? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to go on to the chair's report. That's me. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I want to thank the staff, the board members, and the public for attending, and for Maestro's always welcoming our meetings. As this is my first chair report, I will keep it brief. First of all, Diana Finch, I just want to, she had a very good suggestion. I want to thank you for giving me samples of a community agreement. So here's my version of a community agreement for our full board meetings. Let's remember the why. Why are we here tonight? And why do we care? The answers are very simple. We love our respective communities, want to protect and improve them. Let's stay focused on the why. Be civil, have respect in disagreement, and remember, we are all on the same team. Okay, moving forward. With our committee meetings, I will be asking the chairs to introduce their committee members so new attendees can differentiate between the public and committee members with a brief explanation as to why a person may be muted or expelled for the remainder of the meeting and the chat disabled. So there needs to be an explanation for new people that jump on. Keeping videos turned off only create distance. So be prepared to turn them on when asked by the committee chairs and in the full board meetings. I will also be asking the chairs to submit their follow-up questions discussed in the committee to Jeremy to keep track of what has been or has not been resolved and discussed in committee. I think that's extremely important. We need to keep track.
Can you repeat that last?
What?
That last part.
Is basically is asking the chairs to submit their follow-up questions discussed in the committee to Jeremy to keep track of what has or has not been resolved. It's just a very good way of not making things fall through the cracks, okay? So in land use, there were motions made on 2560 Boston Road development in Allerton. Depending on the outcome of our votes, a letter from Community Board 11 will be sent to City Council, City Planning, and the Borough President's Office. Okay? In the Bylaws Committee, much was discussed on past proposals and new ones that were introduced. Tonight, we're going to be voting on past proposals in the Bylaws Committee and discussing new ones. If everybody has their agenda, what is here in the proposed bylaw amendments are the new ones that were discussed, which means we're not going to vote on them.
They weren't discussed yet.
They weren't
They were
discussed yet.
proposed.
Okay, they will be discussed in the bylaws committee. So we're not going to be voting on that, but these are the issues that are going to be discussed. If you want to be a part of this, attend the bylaws committee. Okay?
This is attached at the end of.
What the conflict of
Yes.
conduct statement
Yeah.
is attached at the end. Okay, so there is, if you have this basically online, you will have a link, but if not, it is on the back of the printed sheet, which is the conduct statement. Okay? So that is going to be discussed at the bylaws meeting. And after that, one thing that was brought to my attention this afternoon is, I don't know if everybody is understanding of this, that if you have financial assistance that's needed with your Con Edison bill, if before May of 2022, you had $2,000 or $3,000 in arrears that you were not able to pay, you need to call 1-800, what is it, 1-800 Con Ed? Right. You need to call them right away. You will be able to get that basically taken off of it, that credit. So if there are any issues, please call Con Ed call them right away also. Okay, do not delay. So that's something that anybody who has financial assistance with that, please call up, tell them what the issue is, and get that credit, because it is offered to everybody. Okay, and if it's not, they will basically give you a criteria. I have not called on myself. I basically have had somebody who just did it today and basically got $3,000 taken off of her bill. I ended up, guys, I'm proof of $3,000 today. So this is something that everybody should know about, okay?
And it's all
So-
pandemic.
Okay, so, that is the end of my chair report.
So, John, what's that? So it's 1-800-75 Con Ed, right?
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm gonna send it
It's a general Con Ed number.
Yeah.
All right, treasurer's report, Veronica?
Treasurer's report has been sent to the board office and it will be published on the website shortly. Thank you. Oh, and you can reach me on my email if you have any questions.
Is Hazel online? Yeah, Hazel, you're there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Hey, Hazel, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I had it muted. Go ahead.
So, can you hear me okay?
It's bad now. You were better before.
Oh, I don't know what I did different.
I don't know what's going on. My volume is all the way up.
Not getting anything with this.
Air connection's not, it's never been that good. Somebody else want to try speaking? Sandy? I just want to
Okay,
test it.
okay, I'm trying to speak.
So-
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect. I can't hear Hazel though.
Yes, you was fine before, and then you did something, and I don't know what happened.
I stopped my video. That's what I did. I'll mute myself.
Okay, am I good now?
No, you're very low.
Oh my God, I'm like on top of my laptop here. I don't know what else to do. I'm so sorry.
Well, the only thing you got to do is, or the only thing you have to report is the minutes, right, from January meeting?
Yeah.
So it was sent out more than once. We had a few corrections. But it's for the most self-explanatory, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was emailed out to the board. I have 2 copies here if anybody needs them, but, so you want to make a motion, Hazel, or?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion first. I am thrilled to be able to say for the very first time, congratulations, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, Hazel.
Okay, I just had to say that. I'm sorry. So hopefully everybody read the last revision of the minutes. So are there any discussions on it?
No. There's,
No?
no.
So, well, go ahead.
Okay, is anybody opposed?
So you're making a motion to accept the minutes as drafted. Anybody second it?
Oh, yes.
So Tiz Nasazio seconded it?
Okay.
I'll second.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I got a little ahead of myself.
It's all right. So no discussion. We already asked for discussion.
No opposition. Is anybody abstaining?
Or opposed?
No, I did oppose. Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, I'm just checking for the room.
Okay.
Okay, so I
Okay,
would say it's
so-
unanimous then.
The motion passes. Thank you very much. I have to apologize for not being there and not making leadership. I'm just recovering from COVID. So hopefully I will be at the next meeting. Thank you.
Jeremy, before we go on, someone
Yeah.
phoned in and I don't know whose name it is. They have a phone number. That's,
Well, if it's a board member, let us know. Otherwise, I mean, I
Yeah,
can check
it is.
later on.
She's out, she's visiting.
Me, Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy.
Is that
It's Rabbi.
Rabbi?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
me.
Thank you.
all right, fine.
All right. So, sorry. All right, so continuing on, we'll go to my report. Gallery session order of speakers. So people have complained to me in the past that why are we calling on people from Brooklyn or whatever order they register in? So if it's okay with the board, we will online registrants first, our district residents first, constituents first, and then the outside people, and then the physical sign-ins. If that's okay for everybody, and anybody who sees their time, we'll put them at the end as well. We'll let the people who want to speak for themselves first. So unless anybody's opposed to that, that's how I'm going to do it. The bylaws are kind of absent on that, I believe. And then see something, say something. You know, we had a bit of an interesting leadership committee meeting. One member of the public complained about new board members speaking up. And I will take a little bit of responsibility for that, if not a lot of responsibility. Give me all the responsibility if you want. Usually you do, or at least other people blame me for everything. So when new members come to this board, I speak to them. I do my own orientation because I've heard many new people since going back to 2017 say, look, Jeremy's the only one that's guiding me here. If I don't do it, who else is, right? Obviously, we're going to work on a guide for new members. But what I tell new members is if you see something, say something. If you don't understand, if it's a stupid question, ask it, right? Because in my experience, because I've been doing this for 12, going on 13 years now, the board members who just kind of, they're taking it in. I understand that always happens, but the board members who don't end up speaking, don't ask questions, don't see something, say something, they end up, in my experience, not being good board members if they stay board members. Half the time I'd say they don't. So, I don't control how people talk. We obviously historically have maybe had respect issues, but going forward, I think we all want to work for the best of our district, as Bernadette said. So that is why new members speak up, in my opinion, and I applaud them for doing that. And yeah, I'll move on from the next topic. Last month's full board recording. So some people here in the online, they're like, the record, I can't hear you, it's terrible. Remember, we did not decide on recording this meeting or paying for the recording till leadership last week because I wasn't sure you want to continue with it because I don't know if you remember last month, the recording, the whole thing was terrible, right? It was a new thing. The leadership committee did give the guy a second chance or was willing to give him a second chance. Remember, he did the setup at the office, which I think has been amazing. And they only charged us $90 for the last meeting. So I'm going to reach out to them sooner rather than later about March, unless anybody's opposed to that. As I emailed the board, I did reach out to Calvary. They did say no. We asked about, March. I expect them to similarly say no or put a lot of restrictions like Einstein College of Medicine did. I don't know if you remember a while ago, I emailed the board. Einstein wants you all to be vaccinated, all wants you to wear masks, show your vaccine card, that stuff. That's probably going to be a problem for some people. So that is item C. Item D, I emailed the board and the public. Van Ness, they're looking at doing extensive. It's also I attached as the addendum. They're looking at doing extensive work in the Van Ness community. And we're going to try to have a preliminary meeting next week. Yes. I don't know if the committee wants to actually have Van Ness come in. So it's a wider meeting. So, but usually Con Ed wants to come to us first. Sometimes they want variances. But most importantly, I think they come to us because they know if we get complaints, they get complaints. So they try to head those off. And then Mulliner Avenue has been eyesore for a long time. I did also send an email to the board and the public about that. I'm not going to take up too much more time because we still have a long agenda. So unless there's any questions, maybe we can move on to the bylaws committee. I believe David Levitt, the chairperson of that committee, is here. David, are you prepared?
Yes, I'm ready.
Hold on, David. Brian's going to say something. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say that if there's any questions, if any of the board members or anybody, I am very accessible. If you text me, I will get back to you. And you can email me and I will get back to you. I just want everybody to know that. Thank you.
Also with that, sorry, David, 1 second. So in the past, we used to circulate a list amongst members for contact info, right? Your info is not to be given out to the public. I know sometimes board members in the past, as well as more recently, had concerns with giving certain board members their contact info. So if you're okay with putting, usually it's your email and your phone number, or your best number. I used to order a preference of cell phone and text and all that wonderful stuff, which is probably too cumbersome. I think everybody here probably text messages nowadays. So please let me know. Let me primarily Harriet know, because I already had her start a tally. Who's okay with giving out your information to the rest of the board? All right, sorry about that, David. Go ahead.
Okay, the bylaws committee met this month, and the following proposals are put forward tonight for a vote. I'll read it from I'll paraphrase it from the agenda that was published. For new board members, there's a 90-day introductory period, during which time the board chair will circulate a survey, and each member will be asked to rank their top 3 committee preferences. And the board chair will conduct a dialogue before final assignments to committees are made. 2, that an electronic certificate is generated for new board members who complete the 90-day introductory period. And 3, that a guide welcoming new members will be created and distributed in electronic format. Since this was voted on in committee, a second is not required. I'll ask now if there's any questions or discussion. Does anybody have any questions or would like to speak on this before we vote?
David, we did have a question about what's the definition of a new member? As we've talked about, I guess with like Hazel, when she was with us for a long time, then she had an absence and then came back. Would she be considered new?
That's a good point. We didn't discuss that. I think we should probably mark that down for discussion at our meeting in March when we discuss the new bylaw proposed changes. That's a good question. I don't have an answer, and the bylaws don't speak specifically to that issue. Are there any other questions? Anyone else like to be heard before we vote? Not hearing any discussion, I will ask if.
David,
Yes.
oral question? Just take this one. It's on. I got to play with it.
No, it's just that the 90-day, I thought that the chairperson appoints the people to be on the board, not.
Yeah,
That's what you did.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Still would hold.
It's still,
It still would take hold.
it's just basically a way of getting new board members who feel that this is what they want. And people can opt out. Then new board members can opt out, but this is just a well. This is new, but the chair still will be appointed. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't conflict with that. Did you hear that, David?
I caught some of it.
Yeah, it doesn't, the current proposals do not conflict with the ability of the chairperson to appoint members to committees, right?
That's correct.
Correct.
All right, Malcolm Gray has a question.
What defines new board member? Definition of
That's the question I just asked, and he doesn't have an answer.
So how do we vote? I can answer that. With regards to people who have been on the board for the last couple of months, this does not apply. Okay, a new board member is a person that has basically started, that's been firstly appointed. So we will be starting with the new board, any new board members that will be filling in the vacancies that we have here. That'll be coming from the borough president's office. It does not affect existing members that have already been on the committees, etc. So this is starting from now.
Situation that it was used as an example. She was a board member and then she left and then she came back again. So
That'll be a discussion. That will be discussed at the next bylaws meeting because it does have to have a back and forth. If somebody has 20 years or 15 years as a board member, took a hiatus for 2 or 3 years for whatever, and was reappointed, that needs to just be discussed and come to a decision, because it's not the same as a new board member,
So,
in my opinion.
so let me have David address it. You mind? I'll ask David to address your question?
Sure.
Go ahead.
What specifically was the question?
1 second, hold on.
Voting on the 90-day, you know, if we're gonna go back and talk about it, then I don't think that we could even vote about it right now. We're gonna go back and talk about it if there are contingencies.
I think that's.
So, David, did you hear that at all? David?
Yes, who said that?
So Serena Muniz wanted to know, I mean, long story short, how do we vote on it, but without the definition of newly appointed board members? Or how, what defines a new board member? Who would be part of the introductory period?
The intention was not to, typically a rule would apply going forward. There's no mention, there was no discussion, and there's nothing in the proposed rule that would apply to any previously appointed board member. So the plain definition would be anybody who's appointed after the rule is adopted.
For the first time?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Cynthia.
I think we're having a small difficulty with communication because it's not an issue. I don't think anyone is concerned about losing seniority or any such thing. You know, it's not about us losing status or whatever. What we're saying is that it's difficult to vote on a motion on rules for new members when we don't even know what new members are. I think that's our.
Well, did you hear that?
Yes,
David?
I did.
So I mean, maybe the board could agree that if you're appointed for the first time ever, and you're not reappointed from, a few years ago. I think that's what you more or less said, David?
Yes, it
But
wouldn't.
remember, when Hazel was not only reappointed, there was concern about can she run for an officer position? People have made that an issue. So go ahead, David.
Yes, all I would say is that I don't believe that this would prevent us from voting on the proposed change tonight. I agree that there should be a definition, but I don't know why it would stop us from voting for the change tonight.
Right, we could have a footnote in the
Well, hold
bylaws
on.
concerning that. Right, David,
Yeah,
or
yes.
a proviso. So we'll discuss it at the next bylaws meeting.
All right,
Yes.
Miguel, then Debbie, or is it Debbie, then Miguel? Who's first?
Jeremy, can you turn the camera on? Because it's hard for me to know who's talking, and I'm trying to take.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see my chest, I'll turn it on, but that's how it's going to be. I don't have a camera I can turn around. I mean, I'm doing too many things at once, and it's really not going to be to your benefit to turn the camera on.
Yeah, but I'm trying to take minutes here, and I don't know who's talking because nobody's introducing.
Well, I'm recording the meeting. We'll make sure before you ask a question, even though I call your name, maybe you want to state it again. So who's first, Debbie or Miguel? Debbie Colick?
Besides Hazel, has anybody else ever returned to the board from a hiatus?
Keith Ramsey.
So basically, what we're trying to figure out is, going forward, if anybody has ever left the board and then comes back, that's a separate issue to address. But what we're voting on is something to go forward from now, not the past.
With newly appointed members.
So, well, it is on here, newly appointed, but so go, Miguel has a question. Go ahead, Miguel.
I think that we could vote on this because if you are in a Hazel situation and you are reappointed, you would be in fact newly appointed again, but you have the opportunity to opt out. So I don't really see why it makes a difference one way or the other. If you want to be introduced, then great. But if there is the opportunity to opt out, like if we're beating that horse.
Yeah, and arguably, there's no harm in following through with this introductory period for anybody who was appointed before and then reappointed, right, David?
That's correct.
Okay. Anybody else? No, good?
Okay. There being no further discussion, we'll take a vote. Is there anybody voting against the motion?
Okay.
Jeremy, is anybody in the room voting
No,
against the motion?
nobody, I don't know about online, but I can't see anybody.
I would
So-
think that they would have to speak up, Jeremy, if they were online.
Yeah, raise their hand. Ideally, you raise your hand. I don't see anybody in person or online, David.
Okay, is there anybody abstaining?
So we have Malcolm Gray and Serena Muniz
Okay.
abstaining.
And that would mean that everyone else who's a board member who's attending online and in person is voting in favor of the motion.
Yes.
So the motion passes.
And I just want to clear, David, if you don't mind, because we've had this issue before, especially here at Maestros. Technically, every vote, we need to know how you vote. So I'm not calling Serena and Malcolm out. It's of course, if we have to come to account for, like, especially if it's a ULIP application, they will come back to us and they'll want to know exactly who voted how. And they're legally entitled to know that. So that's why we have to do it that way.
Well, ULIRP is different because it requires a roll call vote, but we haven't required roll call votes for this. If we do that, we'll be here for another 4 hours.
But either way, you get my point that I have been advised by the Borough President's office that we do have to be able to account for every vote.
Then we'll have to discuss how to handle that. We may have to do some type of electronic voting like we did for the election recently, but it's an important issue and we'll have to discuss it.
Yeah, I think we handled it the right way. I just want to clarify why I specifically mentioned the people who voted it or abstained. That's all.
Okay, and it makes sense also to include it in the recording so that when Hazel puts together the minutes, she'll be able to have a record to draw upon. I have a statement and a question. The statement is that the bylaws committee will be meeting in March. The date will be posted on the calendar once I consult with the committee members for a convenient date. The question that I have is about the motion that's listed under the leadership committee. There is a motion about seating time in the gallery session, but there's also a proposed bylaw change that we'll be discussing in March. So I was confused about if there was a conflict there.
Well, when I said that, if it's okay, when I spoke to Burnett earlier, arguably the leadership motion, I mean, it depends on how it's voted on, but it could be a blueprint for the bylaw proposal. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. This is so just to clarify, there was a bylaw proposal. We didn't talk about leadership, but it was sent in before all the other proposals. So according to bylaws, once it's put in writing to the chairperson, it is her duty and obligation, or his, depending upon the person, to announce that at the full board meeting, which is why it's on the agenda. Even though the last two conflict, they'll be worked out in the bylaws committee. And so leadership, Al is online. So speaking, if you want to go to that motion, I don't, Al, are you prepared to, do you have a copy of the agenda that? Or do you
Yeah,
need
during leadership, there was only one motion made, and that motion was that during the gallery session, speakers can only have more speaking time only once by any other gallery person who cedes their time. So in other words, a person in the gallery session can only be ceded time just once by another member who is present at the time. I'd like to see if there's any discussion on that. Is that clear to everyone?
Yeah, just part of the motion too, Al, is not only do they have to be present to see their time, but they see their entire allotment of time.
Right, yes.
Okay. So that was a motion, that was a vote on.
I don't think we need a second since the leadership committee voted on it.
Yep, you're right.
Is there any discussion on this?
Strato? No, you don't need a second. Any discussion? Any discussion on the motion? Going once, going twice. All right, Al.
Any abstentions?
Anybody abstaining from the vote?
Anyone against?
Anyone against the vote?
I'm against it, Lisa.
Okay. So one against.
Anyone else? All right, the motion carries. Thank you, and congratulations, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Al.
Joe Thompson, do you have a copy of the agenda, or do you need me to, is he still in, or do you maybe I have to turn it over to Joanne? Joe, are you there still? Oh, well, I mean, you just read the motions, basically.
Yeah.
All right, Joe's here.
Okay, you want to talk about our economic development?
Yeah, we don't have to go into detail, but yeah, if you want to state the motions, and they were already voted on committee, right?
Yeah, it's been voted on in committee. We had 4 locations that we looked at, 2 new and 2 old. We had absolutely no problems with any of these. We did look very closely at the one on Eastchester Road. But first, let me go to Pasta Pasta. I think everybody that lives in the community knows Pasta Pasta. We've never had a problem with them. They've always been a good, steady business. Most of us have been in there. So we had no problem with Pasta Pasta. And the motion is that we have no objection to Pasta Pasta. And is there anyone who objects to that? Anyone who abstains to that? Okay, then Pasta Pasta passes on. Our second location is actually in the Hutch itself and the Hutch Metro Center. It's the Marriott Resident Inn. And at the end, they do have a bar, and they do have liquor services there. We, of course, have had no problems at the Hutch with the restaurant or the restaurant. It's a well-run place, well-established place. So the motion is that we have no objection to them continuing their license at that location. Does anyone object to that? Anyone abstain from that? Okay, and that's great. So those 2 motions should pass. And now we have 2 new locations. And for one that may be problematic to some people. So the first place we're going to look at is the Edge Restaurant Lounge. And this is at 2040 to 2044 Eastchester Road. Now, it was a restaurant bar for many years, Gallagher's, and they did have problems there. It was more or less considered a halfway police hangout, and nobody took any action against noise and that kind of thing. These owners are strictly new. They have come into this area, and at 2040, 2044 Eastchester Road, they have completely gutted the restaurant itself. They have installed new equipment, new Ansell equipment, and our resident expert looked it over and could find absolutely nothing wrong with their Ansell system, their kitchen system, and that process. They have installed new flooring. They can hold about 150 people. They have 3 means of egress. All of their paperwork, including their certificate of occupancy, all of these things are on target and 100%. They're represented by council. Their hours of operation do not seem to be outlandish or even inappropriate. They plan to open and stay open during the week until 11:30 at night. And on the weekends, they're looking at 2:30 a.m., 12 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. And on Sundays, it will be 12 p.m. to 11:30. They plan to have recorded music and maybe a DJ and maybe karaoke.
Joe?
Yeah.
Because you already voted
Go
and
ahead.
you approved it in committee, unless there's questions, can we move on with the vote? No offense?
Oh, most certainly. We approved this in committee. We had a quorum in our committee. No one had a problem with it. And we were fine with that. We made 3 visits and the work is coming along well. Everyone is cooperating. So we have no objection to that. So my motion is that, does anyone have an objection?
A motion, no objection to the State Liquor Authority. Anybody objecting to?
Is this for 900 Park? No.
This is for the old Gleasons
Oh.
on East Chester Road. So no objections in person, Joe? I see nothing online. And you're abstaining, Traddle? No, any abstentions? No abstentions in person, Joe? And nothing online, so then it will be unanimous. Be approved. All right? Joe, you still there?
Joe?
He might have muted himself. I don't know. Or he cut out. He's not muted. We can't hear you, Joe. There you go.
It's been a restaurant since I can remember, going back 30 years. We've never had a problem there. And they don't seem to have a problem with the hours. They've given a full menu.
Joe,
they
you're
plan
on
to-
900?
900.
Okay, yeah, you cut out. So, all right, so so
That's
you wanna go ahead and-
900.
Mhm.
So we have no problem with it at all. They're
Bernard has a
not saying-
question. So.
Oh, okay. They're not saying they're going to have live music, but judging from past history and past owners, people have brought in their bands for different occasions. So I just reminded them of that, and that wouldn't be a problem. Someone had a question.
Yeah, Bernadette.
Hi, Bern.
Hi, Joe. Oh, that's loud.
Yeah.
Just past history, I know there are new owners with 900 Park, but because of, I guess, the ideal location, in the past, they have gone into after hours and have turned things into a lounge. Has that discussion been brought up with the new owners about how they're going to handle their late night and weekend entertainment? So I just was curious if that had come into the discussion with the new owners.
Well, the only thing that came in discussion with the owners as far as the time, and I think we kind of both know that because of the kind of parties that are given there, if you tell them it's over at midnight, it may take them until 1 o'clock to get out. But they don't plan to keep it open. They plan to have a reasonable amount of people, and it holds a couple of hundred people. I think we've all been there. It holds a couple of hundred people. They know the restaurant business. And of course, this place has changed ownership several times. And I think primarily because there's no place to really park. And they would have that same problem when we discussed it. But they've got their hearts set on it. They have a good menu. They have a good chef. I've seen his menu. And that's about it with them. They seem to know what they're doing and willing to take a shot at this.
And so does anybody else have any questions then? Joe, do you know anybody online? I don't see anybody. Anybody in person?
Yeah. Any other questions on this? If not, then I make a motion that we have no objection to them getting their license for this.
Okay, so the motion is made in committee. It's now, so any other discussion? No?
Any abstentions or
Or
any
objections?
comments? No objections.
Nope.
Okay, then that passes. And that's our spots. That's what we have.
So it's unanimous. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Lisa Soto, Parks Committee. Lisa, you
Yes,
still there?
I'm here. Hi. So, we met last Thursday, 2 Thursdays ago. And there was a discussion about the need for increased parks enforcement in the parks in our district, particularly Pelham Parkway North, where the plaza is near White Plains Road. There was an incident, I guess multiple incidents of a woman there who has been taking garbage out of the garbage cans and so on and so forth. So, in any case, we took a vote and a motion to send a letter to the Parks Department to increase parks enforcement patrols in our district. So I'm going to make a motion now for the full board.
So wait, it was made in committee already, or?
Yes,
Or-
yes, it was passed the
Okay.
committee, correct,
All right,
correct.
So then it's open for discussion then.
Oh, sorry, yes, okay, so open
Sorry.
for discussion.
This, just so everybody's aware, this used to be a budget priority request. So maybe we see where this goes before we maybe add it back. But we'll definitely get on top of it as soon as possible. I know a member of the public emailed us something that Community Board 8, I think, did, that we can maybe use as a model. So anything else? So you want to take a vote, Lisa, then? No, nobody
Okay,
else.
so are there any abstentions?
No, not here.
Any no votes?
Any against? No?
Okay, then the motion passes unanimously. And then the second piece of my report is just that unfortunately I do have to step down as chair. I do enjoy being on the Parks Committee. I love our parks and I would love to continue, but many of you know I have a baby now and my personal priorities are shifting a little bit. I need to be here for her in the evenings, so it's hard to both run a meeting and feed my child. So unfortunately, I am stepping down, but I obviously will still be on the board and be as active as I can be. I just can no longer have the responsibility of being a chair at the moment. So that's it. That's it for my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And yeah, you don't have to divulge the reason why you're stepping down.
Yeah, I know. I just,
I know, but trust me, we've had issues in the past when people like me have brought those up. Anyway, so I will announce, Bernadette notified me today that Janice Walcott is the new Parks Chair. I have to send an email to the board, and Debbie Kolick is the co-chair of the committee. So, and then moving on, so I know Parks does want, Janice is not here, but Debbie, if we can maybe, I know the Parks Commissioner wants to come to a Parks Committee meeting. So I don't know if we want to keep the same time that Lisa normally did, and maybe schedule something for March. We'll talk. Yeah. Yeah, I took it off because I didn't know what was happening, but I can put it back on. I'll see if let me see if I can see if the commissioner wants to come. Unless you have another guest speaker. And then before we go to Serena with community development, I forgot there was a land use vote last night and we put motions first for all committee reports. Ken, are you still in the meeting, Ken Gelnick?
Yeah, I'm still in the meeting. I've muted myself so that so that there wouldn't be any feedback or anything else. Good evening, everybody. As you know, there were two things that the land use committee took up again, the issue of 2560 Boston Road. One thing you should know is that as of now, after the last meeting where we did not take a vote, the theoretical time for giving our input to city planning has passed. However, they have still not voted on it, and they will still be accepting our input, even though it is not going to be totally official at this point. What we did was we had, in essence, we had a little more of a discussion on this whole matter, and we had three motions that were voted. The first motion is to recommend that the project not be approved. Let me step back, but the borough president has said her approval of the project. We are now making a motion that is going to be saying that we do not approve the project. The second motion we had was that if the project is approved, the AMI income and mix skew towards a higher percentage of lower income families. Third was, I'm sorry. The third was if the
So
project.
let me mute, Ken, let me mute everybody and then just unmute yourself, if you don't mind. So please stay muted until Ken is done speaking, and if you have a question and you're a member of the board. All right, unmute yourself, Ken, please.
Okay. The third was that if the project was approved, then the parking should be increased and that the parking be available to all residents of the building, regardless of income. Those motions were all passed. One of them had first motion that was a vote of 3-1. Second and third were unanimous. I would like to now the board to approve to accept all of these motions. The first thing I'd like to, since I understand we don't need a second. Is there any, because the motions were approved by the committee. Now we have to open up the motions for discussion.
So just to clarify, Ken, just to clarify, the first motion is to recommend disapproval, right?
Correct.
Because we don't have veto power.
Correct.
And then the second one was parking, or what was?
No. The second was that if the planning commission does decide to approve it, that they should skew the AMI more towards the lower income than it is currently proposed.
Yeah. And then the third one is?
Third one was that apparently the parking is only open to higher income levels. We believe that it should be open to all. If the project is approved, parking, the parking which is you have to pay for, to be open to all income levels. I'd like to have a vote. We had discussion on the first motion first.
Bernadette.
I can. The one thing that I want to make sure that the letter of.
I can't hear. I'm sorry.
I can't hear. The letter of objection will have specifics in it with regards to the apartments and what was discussed at the land use meeting. So make sure that the letter has specifics in it, not that it's that we're just not approved. We have objection.
If we, if all three motions are approved, the letter will state all three of those proposals.
Okay, but there were specifics that were mentioned. I just want to make sure that those specifics are put in the letter.
I will show it to you before. I will pass it by you before we send any letter out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We'll send it to the whole board, if that's okay. All right. All right. Any other questions? I see Cynthia first. Cynthia Rodriguez.
We all know that this is more
exercise kind of more than having an actual vote. Kind of past the deadline in terms of when we were supposed to thinking ahead. How can we prevent that from happening? Projects, because it's unfortunate that at this point we're discussing a matter, and it's great to have our input and it's great to have things in writing and our our decision, but at this point it carries it has no real teeth, because we kind of missed the train. And so how do we stop ourselves from that happening?
Did not hear a word she's
Well,
saying.
I heard, Ms. Rodriguez, first of all, even though the deadline has passed, we spoke to, from the Department of City Planning, they will still take our recommendations into consideration. That's number one. Number two, if you recall, at the last meeting, I had proposed a motion that we reject the project, and the board did not wish to vote on it at that time. At that point, it was still within the time limit. That's number two. But again, more important is that city planning has still not voted on it, and therefore this will have at least as much effect as it would have at any other time. Thank you.
So, and let me just qualify some of that. So it's all recommendations, right? We're an advisory board, so arguably it's an exercise in process to begin with. The greater benefit is before the application is certified to go back and forth. Now, one thing Bernadette's trying to do is trying to increase the membership of the committee, right? Because, I mean, it's not, right? It was just two people. Now Cynthia's on it, Harry's on it. Now, I'm not saying that Community Board 8 is the greatest model, although we've been using them a lot lately. But as far as I remember, they require, all their land use committee meetings are mandatory of the entire board. So that's something else. Bernadette's doing what she can. It used to be. I don't know if it's still, okay? So those are some ideas. Good enough for now? Malcolm.
Are there any more questions on this first motion?
Malcolm does.
Yes, Ken.
I also kind of want to piggyback off of something that Ephraim and Roxanne said. If you look at the displacement report, it pretty much a lot of the homeowners who are of color are the ones that are going to be of such an expansion of
Sorry, I can't hear.
I can't hear it.
I will repeat, just bear with this, all right?
We took the time to look into, to read Jane Jacobs' book on the destruction of great American cities. And a lot of what she says in that book is that sometimes we take government, takes money, goes to the communities and think that solves the issues of housing and community development, when all it does really is makes it worse. I think that it would be very monumental and also significant if we were to mention within that letter that we're sending to them that homeowners of color who are historically disenfranchised in these procedures are the ones that are going to be affected, right? I love the fact that, yes, I love affordable housing. I want to see buildings that are more affordable, but I also want to see a lot more Black and brown homeowners, right? I think that home ownership is and should be the staple of what our communities look like. And if we are displacing them and removing that tool and resource of economic development from ourselves, then we're just running around in rat race. And I don't want to see that.
So Ken, did you hear that? Or you want me to try to summarize real quick?
Try to summarize it because
correct me if I'm wrong, Malcolm. His understanding of this project is that it is going to adversely affect people of color, and we should include, well, it's going to displace. I mean, this is a rental building that's going up, right?
It's a rental building, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're concerned about the AMI for that reason too, I believe.
Yes.
So we want to include some language like that in our letter if possible.
Well,
right? Am I
let
correct
me
on that,
correct
Malcolm?
one, Malcolm, what I understand most is that this building is not, it is being built on the site of the Fine Fair supermarket and the Fine Fair parking lot. There may have been one or two homes that will possibly be sold, that may even be have been sold already. But this is not displacing a lot of people. This is on the Fine Fair parking lot. It's a parking lot that is now going to be built up with additional housing.
All right, so Malcolm, I think wants to respond to that. Hold on one second.
In the environmental report, there is actually a displacement map, and it shows massive displacement of people, homeless of color. And I also want to let you know that does lower property prices, right? I would be
Just one second,
angry
Ken.
if I took my life savings to buy a house, to see such a construction happen next door, I'm losing equity in my property. I'm losing my hard-earned money. So I think it's very important that is mentioned, right? It's not just a lot. It's it's affecting people's livelihoods and what they're investing and what their visions are in the future.
So Ken, what Malcolm said is it's in the EAS report, the Environmental Assessment Survey. That where people of color are being displaced on a massive scale.
Not on this particular project, because this is not a condemnation project. They didn't condemn any buildings. Any of those houses that may be part of this thing were voluntarily sold. This is not a condemnation project. This is not where the government has come in and said, "Hey, we're going to displace this neighborhood." In any event,
Sorry, could I maybe step in to clarify in terms of displacement? This is
hold on, Toon.
Yeah.
So Toon is from the Department of City Planning. Do we want to? Normally, we don't open this up, but he's an expert on the matter. Generally speaking, do we want to open it up to him to maybe clarify?
I would like to open it up.
It's up to the board. So everybody's okay with it?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, thanks all, and good evening. I think that between what Mr. Galnick and Mr. Gray, I think Mr. Gray is alluding to indirect displacement, where a development could potentially increase the cost of housing in an area and therefore might push people out of a neighborhood. I think that Mr. Galnick is referring to direct displacement, where you would, as Mr. Galnick said, maybe through condemnation, knock down existing homes and build new ones, and that would lead people to more directly, lose their home because it would be demolished. And as Mr. Galnick correctly put, there's not really a direct displacement here because I think there's one unit in the rezoning area.
Okay, so based on that, can we include in the letter the potential for indirect displacement based on whatever material that is available publicly, which is what Malcolm is basing this on?
I frankly do not see that if the board wants to do it, that's the board votes to do it. I do not see this as being being displacement. I do not see this project as leading to displacement, especially what we are asking is that the AMI if the project be approved, that the AMI be skewed more towards the lower income basis. We're asking our primary goal is that the project should be rejected. Our fallback position is if it is accepted, do it more towards lower income.
Yeah, so I understand that there's not a guaranteed displacement or indirect displacement. I think what Toon said is there's the potential.
There was always a potential for everything.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I do not want to put that in the letter.
Okay. Oral, I don't know, Cynthia had her hand raised. So,
It's like to vote on the motion that we, our vote, the
Well,
first
first-
motion that we reject. Is there any other questions from the board?
well, the basic motion is to reject, to recommend
Correct.
disapproval. I think another motion can be made on the indirect displacement issue, right? Can we vote on
We
just,
did- We didn't, the board, the land use committee did not vote on anything on indirect displacement. The land use committee voted on that that if it is, in a sense, it voted in the sense that it is skewed more towards the lower income lower income than it is currently proposed, which in essence would solve Malcolm's issue, because we're going that way.
yeah, so, all right, so Jeanette Wilson, microphone, please.
I simply wanted to say that developers come to the Bronx because the price point on purchasing property is more affordable than the other boroughs. And a lot of times that does not work in our favor. I would also like to say that even if one family or one individual is displaced by this, it is valuable to include what Malcolm would like to include in this because all lives are important. I would also like to say, in terms of the median income, there are so many families already being displaced in the Bronx, and none of them are going to be able to afford what they say is the median income at present for this development. It's going to adversely affect that particular area in so many different ways that it is important. On a separate issue, I would also like to say, if tonight is not the proper time or place, at some point, we as a board might want to talk about meeting deadlines, because sometimes when you don't meet a deadline, you don't always get the luxury of still being able to submit your recommendations. Thank you.
So just to move this along as quickly, as expeditiously as possible, what I think Ken is suggesting is these motions were made in land use, voted on as is, and then if somebody else wants to make another motion in terms of details of the letter, is that okay with everybody? We get through these three motions that were approved in committee, and then we can talk about the actual specifics? Good? Okay, so any other discussion on this particular? So Cynthia had her hand up first, and then Bernadette?
I don't object. I do with what Jeanette said.
Yeah, she said the same thing.
Keep a timeline
Hmm.
and have a deadline, and that's it. We can't keep the wrong down.
Hmm? Yeah, you made that point. Bernadette?
Hey, just quickly, Malcolm, I just want to clarify, because I'm just, in my head, I'm just trying to clarify. You brought up that you're a homeowner, and if this project is being built next to your home, it's not about displacement, it's about the quality of your home, et cetera, losing its value. So that, you weren't talking about displacement. You were talking about, one of the clarity was that having this, and I understand exactly what you mean. So that's the other point that you were making besides displacement. Okay, thank you.
Okay, can we take a vote on the motions as they were approved in land use then? Ken, no more discussion? It's all yours?
On the first motion that the board recommends that this project not be approved and be rejected. I would like to, is there any, first I'll ask, is there anybody who's voting against that motion?
So we're going to recommend disapproval of the land use application for Boston Road. 2560, I think, is the exact address?
Correct, yes.
Jeremy?
Anybody?
Jeremy?
Yeah, Hazel. Yeah, Hazel.
I have to recuse myself from any of this voting.
Next one's gonna be abstentions.
Yeah, but,
I have to recuse myself, not just abstain.
yeah. So we'll
Okay.
put Mark Hazel down as a recusal, so it won't count in terms of voting. Okay, so Christine Culpepper's also recusing herself. Oral is against the motion. Anybody else against or abstaining or recusing themselves?
Jeremy, I recuse myself.
Okay, Al D'Angelo is recusing, so we have 3 recusals, 1 against. Everybody else is in favor of the motion, unless stated otherwise. All right, motion passes. The second motion, Ken?
Second motion is that in the event that the city planning does approve the project, that the occupancy of this building be skewed more towards the lower AMI, lower income than it is currently proposed.
Okay, so unless there's any questions, discussion, we'll go straight to the vote. I see no hands raised, Ken.
Anybody, I think that the same recusals people should be recusing now. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yes.
I have to recuse myself.
Who's that?
Anybody vote? So same recusals, Hazel, Christine Culpepper, Al D'Angelo. So anyone against or abstaining from the motion? I see nobody, Ken, so I think it's unanimous.
The third motion is that in the event that the project is approved, that the paid parking in the lot be open to all income levels. Apparently there was something in the proposal that it was only open for higher income levels, that this be changed and that that parking be available for everybody.
Okay, any questions or same recusals, 3? Anybody against?
Kenny, is that parking open for everybody? Is that paid parking?
That's paid parking at night, as I understand, paid parking at night for after the stores. Well, there are 2 lots. There's one open only for the residents, one that is also for the store and for the health and for the facilities that are going to be in the building. With those built at night after the store closes, those lots are all available for the residents to use, and the resident can pay for parking in those lots to park their cars overnight.
That's going to be very confusing.
I didn't say it was great.
Yeah, they're gonna have to call tow trucks, we know. So, any other questions, Joe? Anybody else? No? All right, Ken, you want to take the vote?
I call for vote. Again, the same 4 people recusing. Is there anybody who's against this motion? Everybody else, I'm assuming, is in favor of it.
Yes.
Thank you for passing the motions.
No abstentions either, all right.
Correct.
So do we want to talk about the letter? Does anybody want to make a motion, or do we want to move on?
I'm going to send the letter out, but the letter has to be sent out quickly because the city planning is going to be deciding on it. We'll try to get a letter out within the next few days. I will also have the draft minutes of the committee of the land use committee.
All right, so Rich Reynoso has his hand raised. Rich?
What is it? What is city planning?
Motion to add Malcolm Gray's direct displacement line to the letter.
So I don't know if you heard that, Ken, people online, there's a motion by Rich Reynoso to include the indirect displacement issue in the letter. That was a motion by Rich Reynoso, seconded by Malcolm Gray. Any discussion? I think we discussed it far enough. Anybody against?
I'm against I'm voting
Yeah, so
against that
Ken
motion.
Gallick is against, Oral Suckridge, that's
sorry?
2. So we have 3 against, Ken, Oral, Shredo. Any other against or abstentions? Anybody wants to abstain? No, so then the motion carries. It's
I have to
with only
I have to recuse myself.
Yeah, with and we'll have 3 recusals.
Okay, it'll be included in the letter also.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so finally, I think we can go on to community development. Serena?
Good evening, everyone. So just a quick. As well on the agenda, so, this is just, again, take a look at that, so that when we all move on to the.
Go ahead.
Definitely the, that we. That is all. Site is in English and now it's also in our. Loaded, so they're all done. So now anyone that reads. Then site visit request. Committee, should anyone. Do the site visit, and I guess I just want to put out there because. That perhaps this. Committees, so it's not just a form. Put on the website as a form, should anyone.
So yeah, the goal or idea is that just like we have the request speaking time form or Yankee ticket request form, request a site visit, which we can use for the general board or to request a meeting. I think I also thought of when we had our conversation. So for example, sometimes people want to meet with Bernadette or the new chair or whomever. We'll ask they fill out this form because, you know, it's always a scheduling issue, what day and time. So.
It's a good idea, to share the whole with the entire board, so if anyone wants to add to it and just make it, I guess. Suggestions.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Unless there's anything else, Tiz Nastasio, the Education Committee Chair. I don't know which mic you have. Is it one? Okay.
Okay, we don't have an update yet from the Yankees about the leadership award. They are submitted and meeting, we had the principal and assistant principals from S108, and they gave us an update instruction and it's not going to, that is not a decision they can make. That has to come from the Department of Education.
So just to clarify that, the names were not submitted yet because the Yankees had not yet reached out to us. I spoke to my colleagues yesterday about it. One of them reached out to them. They said they're behind. So again, we can preliminarily approve these youth, but it's up to the Yankees ultimately. Ethics and disciplinary. I don't think Naomi's in, so Veronica?
Okay, so we didn't have a standard day to meet, so based on feedback from the committee, it's been decided that the Ethics and Disciplinary Committee is going to start meeting on the 4th Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. Also, you should have received an email with the Ethical and Professional Conduct Manual so that we could vote on it tonight. This manual was put together by Miguel and Naomi, and they put a lot of work into this. The manual, in my opinion, is very good. And I'd like to make a motion tonight that we adopt the manual into practice so that going forward, this is something that we have as a guideline for everybody on the board and maybe even for the public.
So is that Malcolm? What's that? So second by Malcolm. Yeah, it was emailed out yesterday with the agenda. I know it wasn't easy to maybe click on, but it is available on our website right now. I should have made a copy. Any questions?
Yeah, it was also sent out early February. The one from yesterday was just a reminder, so in case you didn't get a chance to read it prior. Is there any discussion online? Okay, any abstentions?
So we're voting on the ethics manual that was created by, I think, Miguel and Naomi, and I provide grammatical tweaks.
Okay. No abstentions, objections?
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
motion passed.
Now clap. Now you can clap. All right, so remember, this is a manual why it's important for the board. Sorry.
Go right ahead.
Why it's important for the full board to be apprised of this is because this is a manual that will ultimately cover all of you, or
Yes.
govern all of you, so to speak. Okay,
Something we should read often.
yes.
Did that pass unanimously?
That was unanimous, right? No against, no abstentions. All right, Sandy Unger, are you still with us, Sandy?
I'm with you. With no fault of my own, and you know, Jeremy, the meetings had to be canceled last minute because
Yep.
I was notified last minute. But hopefully the meeting in March is going to take place, and was asked for by someone from Jacobi Hospital, and you could read what it's about. And they would like to get the public involved with this survey, etc. So hopefully we will have our meeting, and the public will be sitting in and maybe getting their input into that meeting also.
Okay, great. So yeah, the last guest canceled on us last minute. Okay.
Well, you saw I sent you the letter.
Yeah, no, I know that, but
Or twice,
I know.
twice.
Yeah, the committee was scheduled, that meeting was scheduled around the guests, so yes, just so
Right.
everybody knows. All right, so if you're okay, Sandy, we'll move on to housing.
Go
Hazel,
right ahead.
Hazel asked if we are having, unless HPD bails on us. I mean, they did send us an email recently that looks like they're gonna be ready to go. I don't know if you saw that email, Hazel, but it's the joint meeting of the Housing and Land Use Committee next week on the 2nd. Go ahead, Hazel.
If everybody has an opportunity, you should go to our meeting in, I think it was January, where we had the Department of Buildings. They really did a really good presentation on permits and stuff like that. So if you get a chance, you should go and watch it.
Okay. And maybe I'll send out whatever emails that HPD sent recently, but are we doing this a fully virtual meeting? I believe we are, right? Typically, that's how you and Ken do it? Fully
Yeah.
virtual?
Yeah, it's gonna be virtual. But they
Okay.
they have a slideshow and all that.
Okay, so that's March 2nd. Unless there's anything else from housing, Hazel, we'll move on. We already did land use. Public safety, Veronica?
Currently, we're planning on having a joint meeting with the Transportation Committee on March 13th. The reason for that is because we're hoping that DOT is going to be visiting, because they won't, from what we were told directly, that they won't visit any other committee unless it's transportation. So this is our opportunity to raise some public safety issues if they join. If by chance it's not going to happen this month, then we will probably move our March meeting to a regular date, but we will keep you informed prior to the meeting date so you know what's going on. Thank you.
And also, when I came here earlier today to make sure the room is set up, when it wasn't, and I asked it to be set up more, but it still wasn't. Thank you, Debbie, for helping with getting the final set up. The owner of Maestro's here also expressed concern once upon a time about when we did our site visit. So if we can follow up on that too. And the other issues, I know there was, so those of you who are drivers, you come down Morse Park Avenue, right at the corner of Rite Aid, you hit all these, when there are little bumps in the road, they're not speed bumps, they're bumps. They're called hummocks. And DOT, like Leidig Avenue, if you go down Leidig a lot, off of Williamsbridge Road, they will shave those down, and we have to follow up on that too, because I definitely had problems with all the equipment in my car. Yeah, no, they're bad. So if you see them, ideally 311, because sometimes DOT pushes us that way. But we can reach out to them directly, but ideally 311 first. All right, sanitation and environmental protection. I know we have a public hearing still to work on. I don't know if Averill's in or Roger's in. Okay.
The minutes yet, and some emails I have to get back to sanitation. But one of the things that we did was we, Department of Transportation sorry, environmental protection, talking about for leaks, if you're a homeowner. So I had that number, 718-595-7000. So that was if you're a homeowner and you had water leaks. So repair from the street to your home. Responsible for that. Also, we talked about Bronx Park East, bioswale collapse, more road flooding issues, possibly clogged catch basins. So I'd have to follow up on that, and then we don't have a guest speaker for next meeting, but we did want to follow through on motions if alternate side. I have to get back with Jeremy as far as what the correct process is.
Yeah. There's also a new widget on our website, which I saw from another board, and it was easy enough for me to just say, hey, Department of Information Technology, which is what I'll have to do with the site visit request form, although that's going to be way more intensive. On our website, on the homepage of our website, there's a widget. It's basically a little program. You type in your address to find out what your garbage collection times are. So that's on the right-hand side. You scroll down after city map, I believe.
Things that change the time of the.
Well, if you don't know what your pickup time is, just go to our website, the homepage, scroll down on the right-hand side, under city map. You just put in your address, make sure you put comma Bronx, not Queens or whatever, or nothing, and then it just doesn't pull up the address. So transportation, I don't know if Rabbi's still in. Veronica already announced the joint meeting.
Here. Hello.
Yeah, Rabbi.
Nothing to say except we'll have a meeting on the 13th, and we're going to have people from DOT there, God willing. And everybody should have.
Yep. Yeah, DOT's coming to talk about, well, we'll obviously talk to them about the road diet issues or related issues. But they want to talk, they're pushing us for a vote on the parking lot, the White Plains Road parking lot. They're going to come back to us about Eastchester Road, the bike lanes there, which the precinct is not happy about, but they're going ahead anyway. Surprise, surprise. And I think there's one other issue, and then there's a street activity permit, which we need to discuss and will be on the agenda as well. Social Media Committee, Joanne Rubino. It's on.
Everybody, we'll be having a meeting on Monday, March 6th. So it'll be virtual. We are going to talk about, brainstorm some ideas. We have some ideas about Instagram or another the official and official page. Basically, that's what we're going to be talking about. So we're invited to attend. And thank you.
Okay. Unless there's,
Can I say?
yeah, Bernadette.
I just have a quick thing, Rabbi, with regards to the transportation, have you spoken to the 49th to see if there are anybody that will be coming to represent the 49th precinct and their opposition?
I can answer that. I believe I already tipped the precinct off. If not, we'll make sure we loop them in. I mean, so if they show up, they show up. If they don't, I can't. But it is going to be a joint meeting with public safety, and usually they show up.
Like them.
Yeah. So Veronica will help reach out. So social media, March 6th. Any other committee reports? Did we miss anybody? Any motions that we forgot about? Nothing, right? So that ends the committee reports. Elected officials. I do not believe, is anybody here from the Borough President's office? Oh, yeah. We have the new Director of Community Boards, Kira.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Kira Gannon. I am the new Director of Community Boards for the Bronx Borough President. I just wanted to come on and introduce myself. I was the District Manager of Community Board 8 for 5 years. So this is a role I'm excited to take. I've always worked well with Jeremy, and I look forward to continuing that. I'm here for any questions or concerns that you may have. I just want to give a reminder that the appointment application is online in English and Spanish. It's for reappointments as well. So if you have any questions or concerns about that, please reach out to me at my office, and I'm happy to walk you through the process. It was originally due March 3rd, but we're going to be extending it to the 15th.
Okay.
And we'll be sending something out with that information probably early next week.
Okay, great. Unless there's questions, thank you, Kara. Do we have Councilmember Velasquez's office here?
Hi, yes, good evening. I'm on the virtual.
Yes, go ahead, Stephanie.
Hey,
So just remember, I know, I don't know if we mentioned it for Kira. Remember, if you're a rep, we time you, even if you're an elected official, we only give you 5 minutes because sometimes those people take too long. So just remember, oral's timing you. If you want any elected official rep, if you want a 30-second warning or a different warning, please let oral know. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
no worries. I just wanted to share with everyone that on Monday, February 27th, we will be hosting the State of the District, excuse me. And that will be at PS 121 at 2750 Throop Ave at 7 p.m. Doors open at 6:30. And yeah, once again, that will be Councilmember Velasquez's State of the District at PS 121 on Monday. Thanks.
Thank you. Unless there's any questions, we'll move on to Councilmember. Do we have anybody from Councilmember Feliz's office here? Or Councilmember Wright? I think I saw Kavan. Maybe he left. Okay. So, and I saw the mayor's office walked in at one point. I know she was, do you want to speak at all? Okay, unless any board members have a question for the mayor's office, we'll move on to, I doubt there's anybody from the comptroller's office here, public advocate's office. It looks like we do have Erica from the DA's office. Erica, are you there?
Good evening, everyone. Hello, I'm Erica Diaz. I am the community engagement representative from the Bronx DA's office. At the moment, we're working on our 6th annual Bronx Child Safety Fair. It will be hosted Saturday, April 15th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It will be held at the Baychester Community Center, which is 1220 East 229th Street. As soon as I have the official flyer, I'll definitely share that with you, Jeremy. And we're also working on other programs. Once we get the green light to share that information on those other programs, I will definitely get that to you. For any questions or concerns, please reach out to me. If you need my contact information, by all means, Jeremy, can you share that with everyone?
Yeah, anybody wants Erica's contact
Thank
info?
you.
Just let me know. All right, DA's office, gotta flip the page. Any congressional official, I need to add, well, I don't know, I don't think Richie's district starts yet, but I know he already is going around, so maybe I should add him anyway. Yeah, but he's already making the rounds. I mean, it's up to the board. It's ultimately up to you. Do we want to include Richie or not?
Yeah, I think we should include this.
Okay. January 1st of this year or last year? Oh, it's this past year. Oh, yeah, so he should be on there. Okay. Senator Fernandez's office. Do we have anybody from Senator Fernandez's office here? Online or in person? If not, we'll move on to, I think we have somebody from, Gustavo's office. Yes, Francisco.
What about Bailey's?
Oh, yeah, Bailey. Yeah, we'll probably reorder that. We usually do it by who has the largest part of our swath of our district. So either one, Bailey's office or Gustavo's office, whoever.
Yeah, I'll go first. Thank you. I just I'll keep it brief. I want to let folks know the Jews for Economic and Racial Equality, Racial Justice flagged for our office that on Saturday there is an organization. I'm not going to name this group of individuals that are looking to have what they're calling Day of Hate. So our team is reaching out to all the precincts to make sure that they are aware of this. We want to make sure that our community is safe and are aware. At this moment, there's no indications that there is imminent threat to our communities. but we still want to be wary of anything that you hear in the community on the ground. Please flag it for us. We just want to keep that information going. We are not going to share the group that is making these threats and doing propaganda in our communities and social media, because what we do not want to do is give them exposure and make this a bigger thing, which is what they're looking for the community to do. So if you hear anything of religious institutions in the community, please let us know and let your precincts know. Now I'll move on to community events. This Saturday, we're having a Black History Month celebration at Tracy Towers at 20 West Marshall Loop Parkway. I sent out the flyers to all Community Board 11 organizations. So if you did not receive the flyer, please shoot me an email, call our office, and I'll send that information to you. On Sunday, we're also having our Dominican Heritage Celebration in conjunction with Jackson's office. It's happening at 1 p.m. Shalom's Restaurant, located in Jerome Avenue. Again, I sent out the flyer to the to all CB11, Morris Park and Pelham Parkway organizations. If you did not receive, feel free to shoot me an email or call. And that is all on my side. I'm putting my information in the chat for those that are joining us online, and for everybody now be here to the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Yeah. Mike?
I did speak to the precinct today about the National Day of Hate. We already have a plan in place. They're aware of it.
I didn't quite hear that. Can you?
So one of our board members spoke to the precinct about the National Day of
Perfect.
Hate. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, microphone.
I think it would be really important, as a community board, that we make a statement, that we stand united against these groups.
So are you making a motion? So Christine Culpepper makes a motion that we put out a statement that we are against hate groups, basically, right? Second by Junior Campbell. Any discussion? No? Anybody against or abstaining? So then the motion carries. So in terms of wording, I'll put something together, send it to the board, okay? All right, sorry, Harmony, are you still here from Bailey's office?
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Harmony from Senator Bailey's office. I'm filling in for our usual representative, Karina. I just wanted to let everyone know that we're here for if anyone needs any assistance. We'll add our information in the chat, but our number is 718-547-8854, and you can also contact us by email at senatorjbailey@nysenate.gov. I also wanted to alert everyone of an upcoming program that we're having for Black History Month. We are launching a Black History Month reading challenge for some of the students in our district, and this is open to all of the schools in our district. We'll be sending out the flyer tomorrow, but essentially we're asking students to read 8 books featuring Black characters, authors, or illustrators, and to complete a reading journal. And they can submit that at our district office by March 15th to receive a free book, as well as a chance to win a pizza party for their class. So I'll send out additional information about that. But please also sign up for our email newsletter if you haven't, just to receive updates and resources. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you. I believe we have somebody from Zakaro's office, Assemblymember Zakaro's office. Yes?
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Ernella. I'm the Chief of Staff for the Assembly member. I hope everybody's doing well. I just wanted to give a quick update regarding the office. Tomorrow we should be finalizing everything, so I'm excited to be welcoming everyone in the office next week. We are still receiving phone calls and helping constituents with phone through phone and email, so please reach out to us if you have any concerns. I also do want to inform everybody, I've sent it, I believe, to the board as well for the inauguration of the Assembly member, which is coming up March 4th. It's going to happen at Jacoby, the Rotunda. It's March 4th, doors open at 12 and program starts at 1, and I hope to see everyone there. Thank you.
Any other elected officials' office I missed? Going once, going twice. Old business? Any board members, old business? Debbie Colick? Microphone? Is it off?
It was mentioned before about the survey online. Is it supposed to be clickable that you can do the survey online, because it is not clickable?
Oh, are you talking about the budget priority request survey? Yeah, no, we don't have a fillable form yet, right? We're working on that though. Yeah, city planning is we're going to release something in conjunction with city planning, but they want us to hold off. Am I right about that, Serena?
But this, to create the community and provide their feedback. Get it? Now. I'm looking at the right now. It plan with the dress, and I believe it's thought off the top of my head, but the contact information directly on the form down has to be.
I'll also talk to them about, unless you want to talk to them, Serena, about if they can give us a PDF that's not locked, that we can make it a fillable PDF.
Well, they're gonna release.
Yeah, yeah.
Like here. So,
Yeah.
For additional information. And print it out and then send it to them. Yeah, so the intention is. I know, so the intention. Give their feedback. And then I'll make sure to stay. Right?
Okay.
I'll edit it and I'll just say. Thank you.
Okay. Any other old business? Old business. Any new business? Christine? Yeah, a microphone, please. Mike?
The closing of St. Pat. I could go on for hours about it, but that is what our meeting will be about on Wednesday.
Okay. Any other old business or new business, arguably? New business? Any motions to adjourn? So, motion by a lot of people, seconded by a lot of people. Anybody against? All in favor, 9:15. 9:15 PM, the meeting ended.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.